All right, welcome to Inside Pages on Metro Television. Let me say a very good morning to you, and thank you very much for tuning in to Inside Pages today. Inside Pages is going to be looking at two very, very critical issues that have come up in the course of the week. The first has to do with this, that today, if elections were held in this country, the NDC's John Dramani Mahama will be winning emphatically. And winning emphatically here, we're talking about close to 54%. 54% of Ghanaians want John Dramani Mahama to make a return to the presidency, with about 38% of Ghanaians who say they want Dr. Alhaji Mahmoud Bawumia to be given the opportunity to continue from where Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has left off. Now, this is contained in the latest Global National Opinion Poll 2024 General Elections by the Global InfoAnalytics, and that has triggered all kinds of reactions from the camp of the vice president, who have been very critical of the polls. We'll tell you exactly what the concerns about the polls are. And for us, more importantly, what are these political parties going to use the outcome of these polls? And secondly, can anything change if we're to go by these findings? Can anything change before the 2024 elections? So those are the things that we'll be looking at on the show this morning. And then, still speaking about the vice president, Muslims around the world celebrated Eid. Of course, some on Wednesday, some on Thursday. The vice president celebrated his in the Shanti regional capital of Kumasi, and he took the opportunity to state emphatically that as a Muslim, and as other Christians have said, he is implacably against LGBTQ+. Yeah, he's emphatically against it, and he rejects it. Now, remember that the vice president has come under some pressure from some civil society organizations, some Muslim groups, and also the opposition NDC, asking him to state his position. He has stated it. But the question that remains is, should this end it? Is the end of story? Or Ghanaians have a right to ask some more legitimate questions? Now, we're going to tie that in with a letter which has been issued by the Clerk of Parliament to the Clerk of Parliament to Asante Bediuto, who is the Executive Secretary to the President, asking when Parliament can represent the proper human rights and proper Ghanaian values are concerned, or we call the anti-gay bill, to the president. That in itself has come under some criticism. So these are the two key issues that we intend to look at. So we'll start after the break. We will start with the vice president's commentary on the LGBTQ, and then we'll continue with the Global InfoAnalytics polls that he has conducted. The chief executive officer of that organization, Musa Dankwa, will be joining us to do a presentation on the polls that he's conducted. So my name is Audu Moro. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'll be right back after this break.
His comments were in response to requests from various groups, especially some Muslim communities in Ghana, who wanted him to articulate a stance on the issue of LGBTQ rights. Addressing the congregation during the Eid al-Fitr prayers at the Kumasi Central Mosque in the Shanti region, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia reiterated his steadfast stance against LGBTQ activities, affirming that such practices would not be tolerated under his leadership. Being a committed Muslim, he clarified that he does not endorse or accept LGBTQ practices.
The Holy Quran is replete with verses frowning on LGBTQ acts, including same-sex marriages. My faith is, therefore, very strictly against the practice of homosexuality. Allahu Akbar. The Holy Quran is replete with verses frowning on LGBTQ acts, including same-sex marriages. My faith is, therefore, very strictly against the practice of homosexuality. Allahu Akbar. The Holy Quran is replete with verses frowning on LGBTQ acts, including same-sex marriages. My faith is, therefore, very strictly against the practice of homosexuality. Allahu Akbar.
The Americans say they are your president, vice president in the country.
Since the vice president said he's against the motion, we do understand. It's been long since it has been sent to the parliament. Even the leaders of the country are against this practice. The bill needs to be passed in time because a lot of people are still practicing it in secret because of money, even though most people are against it.
Your vice president is so on you to moi. And no. Many are doing to Muslims there. Or my chiwadia bakupa no.
It is a taboo in the Muslim community. Even in the Arab countries, you would be beheaded if you are caught practicing LGBTQ. What the vice president said is true because the Muslim community is against the practice, and I am with him on what he said.
Vice president and no
before by me also actually say no.
I do support what the vice president said about him being against the same-sex relationship. We can't accept that in this country because God created women for a specific reason. I know he won't accept it, and so do we, because we all are against the practice.
LGBTQ plus Ghana.
We Ghanaians are against it because a country where the same sex is in a relationship would not help with the country's development. If there is any punishment for those practicing LGBTQ, it should be effective.
All right, welcome back. This is Inside Pages on Metro Television. So, as I did indicate on the show, we have two very important conversations to have. Finally, the Vice President, who is also the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party, has stated his position categorically and emphatically that he is against or he does not support the practice of LGBTQ+. Now, we all do know that there have been a clarion call from various quarter civil society organizations, the position for the Vice President to state his position. The Vice President has done that. So the question we intend to ask is, can we now allow sleeping dogs to lie? Is that an end of story, case closed, magana ya mutu? Or there's still a conversation we ought to have, we still have questions we ought to ask the Vice President. But like I said, strongly tied to this is a letter by the Clerk of Parliament to the President, to Presidency, or to Jubilee House. And I'm going to read that letter to you and speak quickly to Dr. Rashid Rahman, who is the Executive Director for the African Parliamentary Center. I'll do that briefly. Now, before I talk, the second issue has to do with the Global InfoAnalytics survey that he has conducted that puts the former President John Dramani Mahama at almost 54%, and the Vice President, who's a NPP flag bearer, at 38%. And that itself has created its own kinds of conversation we're going to have. But let me quickly do this. First of all, let me say a very good morning to Dr. Rashid Rahman and welcome him. Doc, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us on Inside Pages.
Good morning.
Right. Now, Dr. Rashid Rahman, let me just quickly read this for those of you who may have not chanced upon this letter. So it says Parliamentary Service, Parliament House, Accra, Ghana, and this is 10th April 2024. Secretary to the President, Office of the President, Jubilee House, Accra. Attention, Nana Bedi Asante, sorry. It says, Dear Secretary to the President, reference, Transmission of the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill 2024. I am writing to acknowledge receipt of your letter number OPS 1401-24235 dated 18th March 2024 on the above subject matter and received in my office of 19 on 19th March 2024. 2. I have taken note of the contents of the letter, particularly the text in the last paragraph, which states that in the circumstances you are kindly requested to cease and desist from transmitting the bill to the President until matters before the Supreme Court are resolved. 3. Accordingly, I await an indication in writing from your office on when to present the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill 2024 to His Excellency, the President, for his consideration, pursuant to Article 1067 of the Constitution 1992. Yours faithfully, Cyril K.O. Insia, Clerk to Parliament, and his copy to His Excellency, the President, the Speaker of Parliament, the Majority Leader, Minority Leader, Attorney General, and the Chief of Staff. Doc, quickly, what do you make of this request to Jubilee?
Well, I think that's a logical way, for the clerk and Parliament to proceed, because the letter that came from the Secretary to the President, in my humble view, sought to circumvent the constitutional processes that we have known over the years, laid out clearly in terms of what happens after Parliament passes a bill. We've never had a situation where, the presidency directs Parliament or tries to prevent Parliament from submitting a bill. It's a constitutional kind of imperative. And so if, as we all witnessed, this has happened, I guess maybe the only reaction from the clerk and from Parliament is to say, let us know, because the bill is still with Parliament, and it has to go to the President. The President has the right to say, I will not assent to it. I have issues, as he has done with some previous private members' bills. But to say cease and desist, it's neither in our standing orders nor is it in the Constitution. And the clerk is performing his constitutional role. His role is a constitutional one. He is in our Constitution, and that is what the Constitution mandates him to do in terms of transmitting communication bills and so on from the institution to the presidency. And I believe even after that bill, there have been many other bills, Moro, which, I think some of them are government bills that were passed, and I believe they are still with Parliament, because this singular letter has perhaps stalled the processes of transmitting other bills, and I believe the clerk might be worried because he has other bills to submit to the presidency. So honestly, I think that letter that came from the office of the president was not well thought of, because look, this process, this bill and all the confusion surrounding it, including all the injunctions and so on, I have said many, many times, we need a political solution, not a legal one. And the more we go the legal way, the more the two sides dig in. And I believe there are efforts currently to recall Parliament and so on. But this letter is what is standing in the way. Hello, Moro, are you there?
Sorry, Doc, we've heard some members of the minority who have not been particularly pleased and excited about the content of this letter. In fact, they're even wondering if this is with the tacit approval of the Speaker, because the letter sort of makes Parliament subservient to the executive. Some say is an attack on the independence of Parliament. Some say is an affront to the constitution, the constitutional arrangement as we have it, because it's almost as if Parliament says we're only able to operate based or only when the Secretary to the President gives the go-ahead for that to happen. That's how somebody like Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, was the Member of Parliament for North Town, and a member of the Foreign Affairs Committee in Parliament. That's how he interprets this letter. Is there some validity in what Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa is suggesting based on his reading and understanding of this letter from the Clerk of Parliament? Do you think this, first of all, has the tacit approval of the Speaker? What do you think? I don't know whether I know it for a fact, but what do you think?
Well, I don't know whether it has the approval of the Speaker, but you see, I mean, the clerk is performing his constitutional duties, and I don't think, we should, shift the kind of attack and interpretation of his letter from the initial letter that came from the office of the president. I think that should be our focus. So if the clerk is sitting in his office and he gets a letter, I think, the only way to react is to say, tell me when I should bring the bill, because I still have the bill with me. As I was saying, the clerk still has the bill in his office. And he's saying, tell me when to bring the bill because I want to bring the bill. I don't think that it's an attack on the independence of Parliament. The members of Parliament, both the majority and minority, I think they are the ones who have to get their act together. They should be united in fighting what came from the presidency in the first place. They didn't do that. Maybe the minority did, but they didn't get the support from the majority. Any attempt to shift the blame on the clerk, for me, I think is neither here nor there tomorrow, honestly.
I see. What naturally would you think would be what kind of response would you expect from Jubilee?
Well, I don't know, Moru. I just hope that maybe they think carefully, because the first letter was not carefully thought of. I mean, they wrote a letter thinking that maybe it could get some type of effect, but I think it rather produced the opposite effect. In this instance, I just hope whatever the reaction is going to be, perhaps is one that is carefully thought of, one that maybe tries to find a political solution. Because look, a few weeks ago, I had said, if we have to get out of this situation, the Speaker of Parliament, the President, and the Chief Justice might have to sit and try to figure a way out, particularly in terms of how to handle those two injunctions that were in court. And I said, if judgment is given legally on either of them, it's going to further kind of create, division. But as we saw, the Supreme Court went ahead to give judgment in one, which I believe, I'm sure if you talk to the people in the minority, we've heard them comment and so on, it angered them. And that's not what we want at this point. The fact that, issues are in court, doesn't prevent us from using our heads and using common sense in terms of trying to find a solution. So I was rather pushing for, some kind of conversation, amongst the three arms of government, so that we can get out of this challenge. But, the legal process decided to do otherwise. I'm not a lawyer, so I can't challenge what the Supreme Court did. But, from a political science perspective, I thought that a political solution would have maybe been better for us, and by this time, we would have gotten out of the situation. But it looks like it's getting worse. And
okay.
The earlier maybe the three arms sit together and try to figure this out, the better it is. Because I know, there is an effort to recall Parliament, and I know all these issues are standing in the way. Is that what we want? I don't think so. We have the business of our country to conduct. And the earlier they try to reason together, as the three arms of government, maybe the better it's going to be. At the end of the day, they need to talk. That's the only way that we can get out of this.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Rashid Dramani. It's always a pleasure talking to you. Have a wonderful day. And Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
All right. So that's Dr. Rashid Dramani, and Dr. Rashid Dramani is the Executive Director for the African Parliamentary Center, talking to us and giving us his thoughts about that interesting letter from the Clerk of Parliament, whom, like Dr. Rashid Dramani is saying, is performing his constitutional duty. So, from what I get, he doesn't necessarily need the approval of the Speaker of Parliament or not to do that. I mean, if what Dr. Rashid Dramani is anything to go, what Dr. Rashid Dramani has said is anything to go by, he's written to the presidency, that's Jubilee House, asking when they can present the bill again for the president to assent to it. But I was wondering, why would he even want to ask that? Because the bill is in the matter about the bill, especially that which has to do with the rights of the persons who may be caught in the net are concerned, which are likes of Richard Sky and some other persons have taken to court. So I'm just wondering why the Clerk of Parliament would even want to do that. So I'll pick the thoughts of my resource persons to join us briefly, and then we can move to Global InfoAnalytics. Musa Dam will be joining us with a presentation on his research findings, and I will take it from there. Now, joining us in the studio is Nanaya Achempem Jantua, who is the Executive Secretary of COSECA and also the former General Secretary of the CPP. I dare say that the CPP misses her. Anyway, she's here. And also, good morning, madam. Thank you very much for joining us. It's a pleasure. Do you miss your position as the General Secretary? Yes and no. Oh, sorry, your microphone is actually off. Do you miss your position as the General Secretary? Yes and no, eh? Yes, in some ways. No, in some other ways.
I miss the people.
You miss the people.
My colleagues.
Right. All right. And also Julius Kwame Anthony. Julius Kwame Anthony is one of the chaps you should be looking out for. I mean, I've been monitoring him on some of the media platforms, and I can tell you that he's a very solid guy. He's a fantastic guy. And I was happy when I was told that the NDC Communications Directorate said to me that they were deploying him today. He's one of the youngest, smartest, also intelligent chaps in the NDC. He's joined us. Julius Kwame Anthony, he's a member of the NDC's communications team. I want to say a very good morning to you, sir. Thank you so very much for making time.
Nice to see you.
All right, nice to see you too. And also Kofi Tonto. Kofi Tonto is a government spokesperson. A government is important. He's not their government, but he's a government, which is one of the government spokespersons, but also works in the office of the vice president. He was billed to be with us physically in the studio, but he's been a bit under the weather. And so understandably, he's decided to do Zoom for the first time. Typically, he always wants to be here physically. Kofi, how do you feel this morning? First of all, good morning. How do you feel this morning? Hello, Kofi. Oh, okay. Kofi had told us that he was on, but apparently he's not. Kofi Tonto would joining us via Zoom as well for us to talk to him. Anyway, so let me start from Anthony. Anthony, I mean, you're a member of the NDC. I mean, it's how do you call it? The Speaker of Parliament is the Speaker of Parliament, but the Speaker of Parliament is NDC. We all know that. It's public knowledge. What's been the talk amongst your party faithfuls about? Have you also been wondering what could possibly have informed the Clerk of Parliament's decision to write to Jubilee House? Do you agree, for instance, with Okudzeto Ablakwa, who thinks that is an affront on the constitutional order? It's an attack on the independence of Parliament. You know, it's almost as if Asante Bediatu is dictating to Parliament how Parliament must do its work and so on and so forth. What's been the talk, but what's your own personal opinion on this matter?
I think that the Honorable Okudzeto Ablakwa's position is correct, and it's not even questionable. The fact that the conduct of the Secretary to the President, who from all indications has been sanctioned by the President to write that letter to Parliament, is an affront to our constitutional democracy. I think the legislative process of our country is very clear. A bill passed by Parliament, assented to by the President to become law. The President is not under obligation to assent to every bill. However, the law is clear on what the President has to do when he has any intention whatsoever not to assent to a bill. He is supposed to, within 7 days, make that indication to Parliament that this bill, for this or that reason, I am unable to sign. And the Constitution even goes on to state the various reasons why
the president can decide not to sign a bill.
Right.
A disagreement as to the content of the bill is one of the reasons. And so, in any case, if the president disagrees with what is in the content of the Ghanaian Human Rights and is there any interruption? Ghanaian Human Rights and Proper Family Values Bill, what the president needs to do is to make that indication to Parliament that I am unable to sign this bill given these stated reasons. Then Parliament has an option to proceed further by vote of two-thirds majority to carry on with the bill and make it into law, or to take the president's consideration into account. If the president decides by use of, executive fiat to interfere with the legislative process, prevent Parliament from doing its job, instruct his executive secretary to write to Parliament that they should desist from coming to the Jubilee House, it is the height of disrespect to the various institutions of government. And the president must begin to acknowledge that if one arm of government can be disregarded in this manner, the other can also be disregarded. And so when the people of Ghana begin to disregard the presidency, he should know that he set the tone for that. And we should not have a situation in this country where persons who, by reason of their association with the president, can, by a single letter, hold the entire parliament of the Republic of Ghana at ransom. That should not happen. And if we should continue this, we are on the path of decline. Our democratic credentials are eroding. And this president has been noted to enable his party folks, by his conduct, to flagrantly breach the constitution. We should bring an end to this. And I think that the clerk of parliament's letter to the executive secretary is just a reaction to what has been going on. Because if I've been asked by Jubilee House to desist from trying to transmit the bill, should I go there and have myself beaten or something? So he has to write that letter to them, indicating when he has to do that. And the president must understand that if we create a situation where we use the judiciary to settle political debates, trust would be eroded in that institution as well. And that institution is the last resort for anybody who feels aggrieved by anything that is going on in this country. And so if you make the Ghanaian people believe that that institution is, at the beck and call of the executive, then we are going to have distrust in the system, and naturally, democracies collapse when that happens. We have a situation where two issues were before the court in relation to this particular bill. An issue filed by Richard Delaskai, which of course is instigated by the president, because from all indications, the president told us that there is a case before the court 24 hours before it was filed, which means the president was already in the known. And so he puts that person up to it. Then we have that situation, that case pending before the court. Then there's another case filed by the Honorable Roxanne Dapamekpo. Suddenly, the Supreme Court is interested in the Honorable Nelson Dapamekpo's case, but not interested in the president's case. And so that is a deliberate use of the judiciary to settle political debates. And you see, I have noted before on the fact that when issues that are before the court, especially those that any legal observer can actually, make predictions that would not inure to the benefits of the government, the court delays hearing them. We have the situation in the Domelevo case. The courts delayed it for a very long time before hearing that case, and their judgment was moot when it came out. But when it came to the issue of e-levy, for example, the court was quick to hear that one. It is the same thing that has been replicated in the case of Honorable Roxanne Dapamekpo and the Attorney General, and the case filed by Richie Delaskai. Anybody with a basic knowledge in constitutional law will know that you cannot use a mere injunction to prevent Parliament from doing its job. And that conclusion is very likely than not. And so if the court deliberately decides to hear one and abandon the other, every well-meaning observer would come to the conclusion that, see, the judiciary is being used to settle political debates, and we should not be sent on this path. Okay. This situation must end now. If not, this democracy would collapse, and President Akufo-Addo would be responsible for it.
Let me speak to Kofi Tonto briefly. I'm not sure he would be... no, the MPP and DC will come in. You're the middle person. You're not a politician.
I've been sitting here for 30 minutes.
He's been on the Zoom too. All this while for almost 30 minutes. Let me go to Kofi Tonto so he responds to the NDC's take on this matter, and then I'll come to you, Nana. Nana, you're the middle person. You're the judge. You're supposed to be adjudicating on this matter. And Mr. Kofi Tonto, thank you very much for accepting to join us on Inside Pages here on Metro Television. Good morning, sir. Thank you. Hello, Kofi. Can you hear me? Kofi, please unmute your microphone on your gadget so that I can hear you. Hello, Kofi, can you hear me? Okay, we seem to be having a technical challenge in connecting with Kofi Tonto, who works in the office of the Vice President and also a government spokesperson. Kofi, can you hear me? Okay, there appears to be some challenge. So we'll sort that out. So we'll sort that out with Kofi, and then we'll come back in-house and continue with the... okay, so Kofi says, and Michael, please take note. He says, I see Ignite Media, but I don't hear anything. So one of you would have to go and get in touch with Kofi and then sort it out behind the scenes so that we can hear him. Because he was there. He was there when the Vice President made that statement saying that as a Muslim, he does not believe in the practice of LGBT. And so it would be good to hear us tell us more about what the Vice President said and the call for some persons were actually calling for the Vice President to go beyond that and actually demonstrate that he's against that. But whilst at it, let me come to Nanaya. Whilst we're sorting out the issues with Kofi Tonto's connection, Nanaya, what do you also make of what the Vice President has said? The letter from the Clerk of Parliament to the Speaker of Parliament. If you can try and put all of that in perspective for us, as far as this LGBT conversation is concerned.
I've been sitting for 30 minutes. I've lost.
Yes. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry.
But the
thing about you is that the thing about you is that you always have a way of of bouncing back very beautifully and resoundingly.
Me, I don't. Good morning to your viewers. Good morning, Kofi. How are you? I hope you can hear me.
Kofi is on, but it says that he can't hear us.
I wish you a speedy recovery.
Right.
You'll be fine. You see, the letter is not, the response to the president is not necessary.
Okay.
Why should the Clerk of Parliament write to the president?
Why not? He's transforming his constitution.
No, because the president has told him when he should bring the thing. It is in the first letter.
That's true.
So why do you ask him again? Do you understand? The president said, come to me when the issue has been dealt with at the Supreme Court. That is it. So why does he write back?
Even it was unnecessary.
Very unnecessary. As if to appease the president, as if to, pamper the president. I don't understand it. So the president was categorical in that letter that the issue is at the Supreme Court. Come to me when the issue has been dealt with. And it's straight. The president did not say that I disagree with portions of the bill, which he should have told us.
Right.
He did not even refer to the bill.
Right.
He did not say anything. Simplicity. He said, when the court finishes, then come to me. So he has already answered.
Right.
I don't know, maybe it's a way of Parliament trying to bridge a certain gap or try to make the Parliament is an independent body. We have three arms of government: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary.
Right.
You also talk about the fourth estate of the realm. That's the media.
The media.
Which sometimes is disputed, but it's always been there. It's not in any document.
Right.
It's conventional. So I don't see why that letter should be written. And I am also surprised that we are being told that the administrative wing of Parliament is different from the political wing. The clerk heads the administrative wing.
Right.
That is the political matter.
Okay.
It is a social, cultural, political, religious matter.
So you're saying he couldn't have done this without seeking the consent of the Speaker?
That is the point. I don't know how they are structured, but I know and I believe that the clerk on his own cannot write a letter. It's like you are telling me that the chief director of an institution, of a ministry, can write a letter without the minister being aware.
That's true.
The only time a chief director can write a letter without the minister being aware is during the transition period.
Right.
Yes, me.
Right.
Where maybe the ministers the government has been voted out. Government is out after 7th January. The president has not appointed his minister, so he's the chief director of the ministry that will be acting. But apart from that, I cannot understand how a letter will leave Parliament without the speaker being aware.
I mean, that would be very strange.
It will be very, very strange.
It doesn't matter how you look at it. But
yes, it will be very, very strange.
Okay, be that as it may, it has gone.
It has gone, but I'm saying it is very unnecessary. Why ask me? Well, I've told you.
Okay.
In my first letter, come to me when the Supreme Court has adjudicated on the matter.
Okay.
Simple as that.
Magana Yamutu.
Yeah, Magana Yamutu. I mean, okay. I don't see how the clerk would write to asking him when should I bring it. Knowing particularly
maybe
well.
There's a strategy to it. I mean, I don't think there's,
strategy to force the president.
No, there's a strategy behind the issuance of the letter. Maybe there's something the speaker wants to do.
That one we do know, but we are looking at the face of it.
Well, that's true.
The evidence is on the face of the letter. We don't know his strategy might be behind the scenes, of which we do not know.
That's true.
But the point is that the speaker should not disappoint Ghanaians, because when the president wrote that letter to him, to his place, he had a lot of support from Ghanaians.
Right.
That the president cannot do that to the parliament, the legislature.
Because for Ghanaians, this clearly is a reflection of the checks and balances we've been yearning for.
That is the point. And that is why we are even talking about amendment of the Constitution, to have a clear delineation from the legislature and the executive.
Where the executive does not necessarily have to come to Parliament you don't even appoint anybody from Parliament.
Appoint anybody from Parliament as a minister. So it is pure legislature.
Yeah.
It is pure MPs. Then the president will appoint his ministers from elsewhere. I know that certainly Parliament will resist this, because then it means that most people who become MPs are just raw MPs.
There's no motivation to go to Parliament.
Maybe, but there's a motivation to serve your people.
Right.
Then we need to also make Parliament more stronger and more independent and more resourceful, so that if you are in Parliament, then you know that you are not wasting your time, that you would have all the resources you need to deal with your people, to look after the constituency, to bring whatever development in tandem with the assembly.
And I'm sorry I may sound like we're digressing a bit, but the MPs will tell you that it's hard. It's hard to just remain as MP and not have anything to do with the executive.
That's what I'm saying, that is why we have to resource them.
Okay,
That's what I was saying, that then you make that body strong. Do you understand?
I get it.
Because if not for corruption, if you're a minister to Unyashe.
Well, that's true.
Do you get me? Yes, it's because of corruption. That is why ministers, they kickback, they get something. So without corruption, it is also the same. You just be on your salary. Sometimes it's even better to be a member of Parliament than to be a minister.
Right.
Because as a member of Parliament, you have opportunities to get loans, to buy cars and all that.
Right.
But the minister hasn't got that opportunity.
Okay.
But it's only corruption that will make you feel like you unyashe.
Okay.
Because if you are not corrupt as a minister, unyashe.
True.
So that is, do you get me? Right. So, I mean, truly, we need to really delineate the Parliament from the executive, because if you see all the issues that we are having with Parliament not being able to be strong or bite the bullet is because most of them are ministers.
True.
Technically they report to the president and they report to speaker. Right. So they are in the middle of it, but then they go to where their bread is buttered, and that is the presidency. True. That I'm a minister, I can get kickbacks and all that. So we need to really have a conversation around it.
So you think that this clerk of Parliament's letters to Jubilee House
it's highly unnecessary.
Needless as it is, but you think it's a reflection of a bigger problem. And the bigger problem being that Parliament is weak. Parliament is weak.
It looks like Parliament
because of the constitutional arrangements.
It's the constitutional arrangements. That does not make Parliament as strong as they should be.
Independent as it
should be. Parliament should be independent. This letter is very highly. I don't see. I don't, because the president answered the question in the first letter.
Okay.
Did you understand?
I get it.
And on the issue of Bawumia, it's come too late that he has said it.
Are you one of those who was expecting the vice president to say
And I never expected him to say anything, because he has been there all this and hasn't said anything. Mm-hmm. Why is he going to say it now? Who is forcing him to say it?
Okay.
Do you get me?
Right.
So I don't see the point. Whether he says it or not, we don't like it.
Okay.
He's saying or not saying will not change how Ghanaians feel about it.
Right.
But it is even come too late.
Right.
What is the point really?
Right.
It's come too late. And you see, it is not about him saying there's a law that is lying there. if we need to look at the law, you see, Moro, I say that this law that we are making so much noise about it, we have a replica law in the normal sex situation.
Okay.
You cannot solicit for sex on the streets of Ghana. You cannot have sex openly, indecent exposure.
Right.
It is in the criminal code. It
Right.
is the same thing that has been replicated with this one.
Okay.
So why are we making noise about it? Even normal sex has rules. If you are in your room and you are doing it, who will come there to catch you?
Okay.
Who will come there to talk about it? But even if, you remember that there were times that the police were arresting people who were having sex in their cars outside? They arrested them and arraigned them at the police headquarters, and they still do it.
Okay.
So this kind of law, I don't see why there is a blah baloo about it. It is the same thing in our criminal code that has been replicated with this one.
It's just been enhanced. It's been made much clearly. It's much clearer now.
No, there's no law on all these LGBTQ.
That's true.
There's a law on normal sex.
Yes.
You get me?
Yes.
If you do certain things.
Unnatural carnal knowledge.
Yes. No, this one is unnatural, but the natural one, even there are laws.
Yes, there are laws
Do you get
guiding
it?
it.
And
yes.
it's the same thing that we are talking about. You cannot solicit for sex.
Okay.
This their sex. You cannot do it outside.
Okay.
Right. You cannot promote it. It's the same thing in our law.
Okay.
What I want us to do as a nation is to rather start creating awareness on the matter. That you needn't go into this area. As a young woman, as a young man, this kind of orientation is not good for you. We need to involve stakeholders like the AIDS Commission who have data on the number of people who are exposed to HIV/AIDS because of their sexual orientation.
Right.
So a lot of education should go on. But all this about the law and that, look, Moro, there are so many laws in this country which is lying there, bylaws. You see, there's a law that you cannot throw rubbish in the streets.
Right.
It's a bylaw and you have to be fined. Who is using it?
I like how you've been consistent about this position on this thing, that it's not just the law. The law alone won't.
The law alone, you have to create awareness.
About
education, publicity, let people know that this thing, it is not part of our culture, our religion founds on it. It is not about Bawumia. See, Bawumia says it and so what?
And so what? Okay.
It doesn't change anything.
I think that the Bawumia thing, I think it's just more to do with the politics.
Yeah, the politics of it, yes. And this time he was calm. I don't know.
Unfortunately, we're struggling to get, unfortunately, we're struggling to connect with Kofi Tonto. But our technical team is working on that. Once we're able to sort it out or fix the challenge, Kofi Tonto will join us via Zoom to express his thoughts on this, because he was actually there when the Vice President was making that statement. And so we just felt that he'll be able to tell us more about the thought processes that went to it. Was it because the Vice President came under pressure, or this is a position the Vice President has held all this while, he was only looking for an opportunity to state it, and so on and so forth. So we're just going to have a brief one with Kofi Tonto. But whilst at it, I guess that we can move on to, Anthony, you haven't had the opportunity to comment on the Vice President's comment. Should the matter end? Magana Yamutu, can we go to sleep, or you think that you still want more?
You see, on the Vice President's issue, the most substantive issue at this point is not his position, whether he agrees or disagrees. Of course, everybody knows Islamic principles are clear, and anyone who is an adherent of that, there's a presumption that the person has that position. What is critical here is action. Okay, there is a bill on the issue which is being unconstitutionally prevented by your boss, and he is refusing to indicate whether or not he even approves or disapproves of that bill. He has instigated people to bring an action before the Supreme Court to prevent it unconstitutionally.
You don't know this for a fact, Anthony.
You
can say that
if the president told us 24 hours,
infer.
Of course. If the president told us 24 hours that there is an action before the Supreme Court, before that action is filed, how did he know? The president is not a magician, as we are all aware of. It could only mean that he already have prior knowledge of it. So it's clear to us that the president instigated that action deliberately to prevent the bill from, getting assent, or to prevent himself from indicating whether or not he would assent to the bill. Your boss is doing that. That is what we need a position on. What do you think about that conduct? And the Vice President is unable to state that. And this is a Vice President who, for the records, has been consistent on the campaign with his boss on almost every issue. And so if you have been consistent on the campaign with your boss on almost every issue, it is expected that you and him will be at idem. And so if you disagree now on the issue, what is your position on his refusal to indicate his position on the bill so that Parliament would be able to continue the normal legislative process? You should be able to tell us that. If you're unable to show us that, then it is like all the other many promises that Vice President Bawumia made, which are unfulfilled, and nobody can take his word for it. It cannot be trusted on the matter.
So, Anthony, your point is the Vice President's commentary would mean little until the President signs off.
Not necessarily, until he tells us what he thinks about, because at this time, the critical issue or the discussion on this bill is not even what position you take or not. It is the bill is with Parliament. The bill has been presented to your boss, the President, who is deliberately frustrating it using his executive secretary. What is your position on that? You have been unable to tell us whether or not you support his conduct. And it is the same thing he would do, turn around some other time and tell us that international donors are against it. So even though he has stated that he is against it, he cannot sign the bill. The same excuses the President is doing. Vice President Bawumia can easily tell us those same things. And it has been his record to reprobate and approbate. So I don't trust him on the matter unless he can come out and tell us the present issue is on the bill. It's on the constitutionality or otherwise of the president's conduct. Tell us what you think about that, Vice President Bawumia. That is what we want to hear.
All right. So 0249-155-646, 0249-155-646. WhatsApp line, those of you who want to join the conversation. Some of you have already sent me messages asking when I'm going to advertise the WhatsApp line. It's 0249-155-646. That's the WhatsApp line. Please join us with your thoughts and your comments. We'll be more than happy to hear from you. So we move to a second topic. And again, I need to state that we're still working the lines to get Kofi Tonto to join us, who is a government spokesperson and also works at the office of the Vice President, to join us via Zoom. Kofi, please bear with us. But our technical team is also we're actually calling you, so if you can pick up your phone and help the guys to sort this thing out once and for all. So we're moving to our second topic, and our second topic, we're going to be talking to a man who is probably one of the hottest cakes in town at the moment. He was supposed to be at 8:15 or 8:20, but the media houses have hijacked him. Everybody wants to talk to Musa Dankwa. Well, it's understandable. He's the man of the moment, and so, if it's good, everybody wants a bite of it. Anyway, so it's about a poll he has conducted, and I've taken place to actually print it out. It's quite voluminous. It hasn't been easy. I've had some sleepless nights flipping through the pages, but very, very interesting, very thorough, very comprehensive data. I'm not an expert in research, but even laymen, mere mortals like us, can go through and understand, what the amount of work that's gone into the survey. We'll take a short break. First of all, let me say good morning to him, and then we'll take a short break. Musa Dankwa is the Chief Executive Officer of the Global InfoAnalytics. Salaam alaikum, boss. Good morning.
Alaikum assalam.
And it's good to have you, sir.
Good to be here, too.
Charlie, you're a hot cake. Everybody wants Musa Dankwa. From here, you're going to another platform.
I wish we weren't the only ones.
I know. Got the pressure on you. It's amazing. Anyway, so we'll take a short break. When we come back, Musa will walk us through his presentation, and I'll get my resource persons to make a comment. In fact, they can also ask him questions. We'll take a short break. All right, welcome back. This is Inside Pages on Metro Television. My name is Aldo Moro, and I want to say a big thanks for staying with us till this very minute. It's about a minute to hit the top of the hour. We started a conversation this morning with the Vice President's commentary on LGBT, where he says he rejects it roundly and emphatically because he's a Muslim, and he also but he knows that the Christians are also against it. But, in the studio here, the NDC rep, Anthony Julius, says that that's not enough, and that the matter before the country is about the LGBTQ plus bill, for the anti-gay bill, which in his view, the president is avoiding signing it. That's what he expects the vice president to comment on and to deal with. Until he does that, his rejection or otherwise of the practice of LGBT means nothing. And that's according to the NDC rep who is with us here in the studio. Nanaya Jantwa says for her it matters not. The thing is, we need to educate people and embark on some vigorous campaign to get people No, that matters not what Bawumia says or Bawumia doesn't say. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So that's the thing. Anyway, so Musa Dankwa is here as a dedicator. So he's conducted another opinion poll, and it's been making the rounds. It's everywhere. It's actually one of the biggest conversations that's been had in the last 1 week or so. And every quarter he does it. And he did two. He's actually done two. One is on governance and generally, and then the other one is about who would you vote for today and so on. But I think your focus, Musa, is going to really be on the national opinion polls in terms of who people will vote for within a certain period of time. So when was this poll conducted?
This poll was conducted between 22nd March and 31st March.
Oh, okay. Okay, so that's about, let's say that's about a week.
A week or two.
Okay, all right. So what does it say?
Now, we are going to present the data a different angle.
Okay.
We're going to look at people's voting intention today vis-a-vis how they voted in 2020.
Right.
So we can see the shift within the numbers. What is accounting
2020 March, around the same time?
No. Those who voted in 2020 elections.
Oh, 2020 elections. Sorry. Okay.
If you are to gather them again to vote today, how would they vote?
Okay, that would be interesting.
It tells you the story behind what we are seeing.
Okay.
And this doesn't include the vote of those who said they didn't vote in 2020.
Right.
And those who just voted in 2020.
Okay.
So the sampling allocation was 20% to Greater Accra, 18% Ashanti, 10% Eastern, 9% Central, 7% Western, 6% Northern Region, 6% Volta Region, 4% Bono, 4% Upper East, 4% Bono East, 3% Upper West, 2% Western North, 2% OT, 2% Savannah, 2% Northeast, and 2% Ahafo. This is the size of the regions related to our voting population in the country.
And this obviously is based on the number of people, the population.
Who vote in the region.
Who vote in the
region.
Not
just population.
Oh, the
voters.
Voters in the region.
Yes, in the region. Right. Then we have the gender, 46% female, 54% male. And then when it comes to age groups, 18 to 35, 47%, 36 to 45, 32%, 46 to 55, 15%, 56 to 65, 5%, and this is plus 1%. And then when it comes to educational level, junior high is 17%, no education is 18%, tertiary 26%, and senior high a lot 38%. Now, this is the employment status of these people, to those who we spoke to, what they do in their lives. 46% are self-employed, students 15%, private company employees 14%, unemployed 12%, under the GSS is 14%. But our margin of error is 1.6, so 1.6 plus 12% is almost that number we have on GSS data. Casual workers 12%, NGO government 11%, not answer the question 7%, they won't tell us what they do. Other type of employment 4%, and retired or pensioners 2%. And this is the religious demography or group we spoke to. 70% of the respondents were Christians, similar to what we have in the country, no variation. So if it's an unscientific survey, this number will not match that data. Islam, 20%, exactly what we have. Non-religion, 5%. Traditional religion, 3%. Others, 2%. This is another way of checking the validity of the survey. Ethnic groups, Akans, 46%, the same as GSS. Other tribes or other ethnic groups, 13%, LS 11%, Gan Adangbe 11%, Mori Dagbani 10%, Guan 6%, Grushi 2%, Gruma 1%, and Mande group 1%. Now, the people we spoke to who said they were first-time voters, 22% said they are MPP affiliated. 25% said they were NDC affiliated. 26% they were floating voters. 4% other smaller parties. And 23% did not disclose their party for one reason or the other. They don't want to tell us. Among those who have been voting before, 31% of them were MPP, 33% were NDC, floating voters 18%, other parties 2%, not disclosing 17%. The most notable difference is here. Among the younger voters, the first-time voters, more of them are floating than their older voters. So they are deciding to join no other party but to be on their own.
Wow.
Now, this is the party affiliation tracking we've kept over the last, from January 2023 till now. MPP and NDC, there was 1% difference between them in January 2023. Now, NDC 34, MPP 30. MPP is declining in the moving average over the period. And those who said they will not disclose their party affiliation, they are going up from 11 to 15%. They move in the same opposite direction as MPP numbers. So we believe that they are MPP people who move from being MPP into I will not disclose for one reason or the other. Now, when we asked voters their view about the direction of the country, 65% said Ghana is headed in the wrong direction. 25% said right direction, and 10% said they have no opinion. So majority of Ghanaians believe that where we are headed is no good. Now, if you look at the same question based on party affiliation, 60% of MPP sympathizers believe that we are headed in the right direction. 32% said wrong direction. NDC, 7% is right direction, 88% wrong direction. When it comes to floating voters, 12% said right direction, 75% wrong direction. When it comes to those who support the smaller parties, 11% said right direction, 76% said wrong direction. Those who did not even disclose their party affiliation, 15% said right direction, and 70% right direction. So across board, except MPP affiliate, everybody believes Ghana is not headed in the right place. Then we asked them about the approval of the president's performance. 62% approve of his performance. 32 disapprove. 6 have no opinion. The number has largely remained flat from January. January was 63% approval. Now it's dropped just 1%. And those who said approve has remained static for a very long time, from October last year till now.
Oh, you want to ask a question? Okay, please. Nana wants to ask a question. Otherwise, she may forget.
Yes, I wanted to ask so many questions.
Yes.
Doc, the point is that what is the president's job approval? What does it mean?
Okay,
that's
simple question.
How was it put that people say 62?
Okay. Do you approve or disapprove the way Nanado is doing his job as president? That was the question.
Okay.
But in another vein, the same people you interviewed said the country is not heading in the right
Those
direction.
are different questions.
Okay.
The disapproval is 62%.
62.
Approval 32%.
Yes.
Yes.
Disapproval is
yes,
because you said
yes,
approval.
Yes.
Disapproval is 62%.
Yes.
Okay, that's why I didn't add that.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Apologies. Disapproval is 62.
62.
Approval 32.
That makes sense.
Yes, sorry.
I also wanted to find out one thing. It's as if the people you spoke to were more of the men spoke to you than the women.
54%
were men. Yes.
And 46%
were women. Why was it they were not interested in the politics?
No, it's random. Where you are, the people you find is who you interview.
So those people were not really...
In some cases, in fact, let me tell you something. Mm-hmm. In part of northern region, if you go there at a certain time of the day, you don't see the men.
The men.
Oh, okay. Right.
So we have to come first part to get the women. And then if there are any gaps between the gender, we come back in the evening where the men are back. Men are back to interview them.
They go to the farm.
Yes. Okay. And the polls are done within certain windows, so we can't always wait for them to capture everything. But then if you want to do some weighting, you can use the GSS number to kind of weight that sample if you want to do that.
That's fine.
When we asked them about the performance of the government, 52% said they've done poor or very poor. 6% said they've done excellent. Very good, 29%, and average is 13%. Now, when we looked at party affiliation of those people, among those who said excellent, 17% of MPP voters said they've done excellent. 57% said they've done very good or good. 10% said they've done average. And 16% of MPP voters believe government has performed poor or very poor. When you come to NDC, only 1% said they've done excellent. 12% very good or good. 11% said they've done average. 77% said they've done bad or poor or very poor. Among floating voters, 2% said they've done excellent. 23% said they've done good or very good. 16% average. 59% said they've done poor or very poor. And the numbers goes. So everybody except the MPP folks believe the government has performed. Now, when we ask people their standard of living, which is very crucial in terms of bread and butter issues, in January, 20% said it has improved. Now it is 19%. That's declined by 1%. For those who said it has gotten worse, 54% was in January, now 51%, a decline of 3%. For those who said it's unchanged, it was 22%, now it's gone up 24%. And for those who didn't have opinion, it's 4%. It was 4% January, and now 6%. So they have moved slightly from here and spread themselves across the unchanged and no opinion. So slight improvement in those who are saying that things have gotten worse. Now, what are the top issues for voters for this election? Top issue number one is jobs. 66% of the mentions are jobs. Economy, 64%. Education, 47%. Roads, 27%. Healthcare, 20%. Corruption, 20%. Taxes, 18%. Petrol prices, 11%. Water, 8%. Security, 6%. Party member, 5%. Sanitation, 4%. Other reasons, 2%. Religion and ethnicity, very minutiae. No, you see, these are the top issues.
The microphone is usually off, so we can't hear you here.
We didn't tell them to give us the reason why they are choosing economy, education, or whatever. Just what are the top issues to you?
So generic.
Generic.
Okay.
No
specifics in terms
no
of which
specific.
aspects of
Okay.
education.
Yes.
Because I was very interested to know
if
which
you want to
aspects
know
of
further,
it.
you can go back and probe. Why are they saying
You can do a whole research on education.
Yes.
And get some more detailed and specifics. Right.
Now, when we ask them about what slogan is going to influence them in the election between Mahama's 24-hour economy, digitalization, and GTP, 6%. Digitalization, 29%. 24-hour economy, 48%.
I see.
Now, we looked at the parties' affiliation of those who are giving us these views. Among those who said they were MPP, 11% support 24-hour economy.
11% of
MPP, yes.
Supporters?
Yes. 72% of MPP support digitalization.
Okay.
7% of MPP support GTP, Alan. And 11% said neither these ones would influence.
Isn't that exciting?
When you come to NDC, 91% of NDC said 24-hour economy. 3% said digitalization. When you come to floating voters, 53% said digitalization, 24-hour economy. 16% said digitalization. 9% said GTP, and 22% said none of them. And the numbers are there. So across, you can see the 24-hour economy is much more supported by most of the demography. Now, we asked them whether religion was going to play a role in their choice somehow. In January, 24% said yes, it will likely play a role. Now, that number has dropped 16%.
Right.
For those who said it's unlikely to affect them, it was 76, now 84. So it's moving in the right direction in terms of religion being relegated to no big issue.
Right.
But 16% is still a big number to influence certain things. Now, when we ask them, who do you intend to vote for in the election? Remember here, we don't give them the names. We don't show them any pictures. It's unprompted.
Okay.
Give us the name, and we pick it for you. So these are unprompted recall of names they intend to vote for. And on this score, Mahama 54.3%, Bawumia 34.6%, Alan 7.5%, Kwame Bediako 2.3%, Gum is 0.7%, Hassan Ayadega 0.3%, Akpalu 0.2%, Chum Berima 0.1%, Samuel Appiah Dankwa 0.1%, and Dr. Sam Ankra 0.00 something there.
And nobody mentioned CPP.
No, here it's not party. Because if you don't have a candidate,
yes, it's true.
they won't mention anybody. They are candidates.
Okay.
People who have put their posters out there.
Right.
Once your candidate comes out, we'll put their pictures there.
Yeah.
We're not using parties as a proxy. We're using the individuals because those individuals command different kind of responses than just party.
True.
And then this is the tracking.
So this one, you use the individuals to ask the question, not the parties.
Not the parties. And then when we look at the track data we have from January 2023, Mahama was on 58% in January 2023. Bawumia 36%. Now Mahama on 54%, Bawumia down 36%. 35%.
Okay.
Over this probably 17 or 16 months period. This is how the poll numbers have moved. Now, Alan entered the race in October. He dragged Bawumia down from 37 to 34, and Mahama from 55 to 51.
Right.
After the primaries, Mahama went up, Bawumia dropped, Alan dropped. What happened here? No vote voters begin to move towards Mahama.
Interesting.
And then 2-3 months down the line, they have now settled. Mahama has dropped 54%. Bawumia has gone 35%. Alan has stayed flat at that level. Now, it is quite interesting. In the 2020 elections...
when you try to explain, or you're trying to hazard a guess, what may have influenced, the uptick in Mahama's numbers, and you're saying that it was after the MPP primaries, the Ken guys, in your estimation, have moved to Mahama, and that's why Mahama saw an uptick. But then Mahama now drops to 54%. Yes. Can you also hazard a guess what may have influenced?
What accounted?
What accounted for this? Because
Bawumia
has just dropped by 1%.
1%. Mahama has dropped by 4%. Yes.
Right. What we have seen now, and this happened in 2 regions, largely. 3 regions. Central region. Those who were supporting Alan by 15% last time have now moved to Bawumia.
Those who were supporting
Alan in Central region.
Have now moved to Bawumia.
Moved to Bawumia. But Alan was 15% in January in Central region. It's now on 2%.
Right.
He lost ground there. So they moved from Alan to Bawumia. In Ashanti region as well, Mahama was leading for the first time in January. That is unheard of. Because of the anger of the people who were pro-Ken.
It looked more like a protest.
A protest.
Okay.
And then Bawumia was down.
Okay.
Right now, Bawumia has overtaken Mahama in Ashanti region.
Right.
And that has brought the race to its normal level.
Okay.
But still not wide enough. And then Alan has also gained slightly in Ashanti region from where he was in January. So you could see movement within those who were not accepting Bawumia. Some of them are coming back, some are not coming back.
So do you have the numbers for the Ashanti movement?
We'll come there. There. So for those we spoke to at this part of the poll, 66% of them said they voted for. Sorry. The Akan regions. When we look at the data from Akan regions, Nanado won 66% of Akan regions per poll we did. 31.5 went for Mahama. 2.3 somebody else. Now, in the same Akan regions, 44% are voting for Bawumia.
For now.
The same people we spoke to. You can see a switch between 66 to 44. It's a sharp drop in the numbers of Akans voting for DMB within the Akan regions. Mahama is now on 41. He was 31.5 before. He's gone up almost 10% in the Akan regions. Alan has now come in. He's taking 9.4%. Bediakun, 3.1%. Boom is doing 1.1 in the Akan regions. So this is the reason behind Bawumia's numbers. The Akans haven't fallen in line, and then they are split between Alan, Boom, and even Mahama.
So if you say the Akan regions, do you include
8 of them?
OT? You don't include OT?
No. We're looking at the Akan-dominated regions. Ahafo, Bono East, Ashanti, Eastern region, Central region, Western region, Western North.
All right.
8.
So that makes it 8. Okay.
Now, if you look at voting intention of people for 2024 elections, 83% of MPP voters want to vote for Bawumia. 9% are voting for Mahama. 7% are voting for Alan. When it comes to NDC, it's 96% NDC voting for Mahama, 2% for Bawumia. Among floating voters, 59% are voting for Mahama, 20% for Bawumia, and 13% for Alan, and the rest. Now, let's compare this data to how they voted in 2020 elections. Those who were MPP, then, Nando got 96%. Now, Bawumia is getting 83%. The difference. 3% of MPP voted for Mahama in 2020. Now it is 9%. When you come to NDC, 8% of NDC were voting for Nanado in 2020. Now it's only 2%. 91% were voting for Mahama in 2020. Now it is 96%. Among floating voters, 55% were voting for what? Mahama in Nanado in 2020 elections. Nanado, Mahama 43%. But now we can see that Mahama is 59% on floating voters. So he has turned the table on MPP on floating voters. And he's getting more from MPP, and he's getting his team behind it. Look at the, this is the voting intention of those who work. Those who work for private companies, those who didn't respond, 55 Mahama, 30 Bawumia, 10 Alan. Private company employees, 56 Mahama, 35 Bawumia, 6 Alan. Self-employed, 55 Mahama, 35 Bawumia, 7 Alan. Government employees, that's where Bawumia leads. Mahama 39, Bawumia 49, 8% Alan Sematin. Casual workers, Mahama 48, Bawumia 37, 10 for Alan. Students, Mahama 56, and Bawumia 33, Alan 7. Unemployed, Mahama 62, Bawumia 26, Alan 7. Retirees, pensioners, 52, Mahama 37, Bawumia, and 4 Alan. And those who do other jobs, 56 Mahama, 28 Bawumia.
So the government people employ, they are for Bawumia.
Yes, Bawumia is leading among government employees. Employees. Now, okay. Christian vote, currently, Mahama 53, Bawumia 36. Islam, Mahama 60, Bawumia 32. Traditional religion, Mahama 55, Bawumia 33, Alan 5. Others, or other religion, 54 Mahama, 39. Other religions, Hare Krishna, all those. Yeah. And then no religion, 55, 53 Mahama, and 30% Bawumia.
So Bawumia is doing well in the Christian community?
No, it's not. Mahama is leading the Christian community, 53%. 36, 55. Mahama is winning across all demography of Christian of religion.
No, I'm saying Bawumia got 36.
Yes, slightly better.
Yes,
but others 39.
But in the Islamic place, he got 32.
Yes.
So he's doing better in the Christian community.
Yes. Let's look at it from the 2020 elections.
Okay.
In 2020, 55% of Christians went for Nanado. Mm-hmm. This time, it is 53% for Mahama. So Mahama turned the table among the Christians.
Yes.
Bawumia, Mahama got 44 in the last election. In the last election, Nanado got 44% of Muslim vote. Bawumia is getting 32. So Nanado was doing better among Muslims.
So even Nanado, who isn't a Muslim?
That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes. So it shows here, 44% of Muslims voted for Nanado in 2020.
Yes.
Now, only 32 are voting for Bawumia.
That is what I'm saying.
Yes. 54 went for Mahama last time. He's still winning them.
He's still winning
but the margin has increased.
It has increased.
Traditional religion, Nanado won 47. Nanado 47 and Mahama 50. Was close tight. Now he's turned the table. And then again, other religions, Mahama won, was close margin as well. Yeah. And everywhere it was winning. And no religion, Nanado won. But now the table has turned across.
Yeah.
Now, if you look at the ethnic groups, how they are voting now, Mahama on 38%, Bawumia 49%, Alan 10% among the accounts. The Guans 60 Mahama, 30 Bawumia, and 5 Alan. Gan Adangbe 78 Mahama, 17 Bawumia, 3 Alan. The Ewe 74 Mahama, 16 Bawumia, and 7 Alan. Moli Dagbani 63 Mahama, 30% Bawumia, and 4% Alan. Gruma, and like that. Now, let's look at the same risk in the context of 2020 elections. In 2020 elections, Nanado won 69% of the accounts.
Wow.
Now Bawumia is doing 49. That's the problem. Among Guans, 44% Nanado, 55 Mahama. Gan Adangbe, 35, 64. You can see that Mahama has retained whatever he won and he increased the margin. And wherever Nanado won against Bawumia now, either Mahama has turned the table or has narrowed the gap, really among the accounts. Very, very important driver here. Now, overall, 19% of voters who voted for Nanado in 2020 have switched and now voted for John Mahama. Very, very crucial. Remember, Nanado got 6.6 million. If you apply 19% of 6.6 million, that is about 1.2 million votes who have left Nanado's camp into Mahama's camp.
These are MPP people?
No, these are all Ghanaians.
Yes, all Ghanaians.
All Ghanaians. And then when you come to DMB, he's getting 60% of Nanado's vote last time. And then 9% of Nanado's vote has gone to Alan. 2% has gone to Nana Kwame Bediako. 1% others. 4% undecided. And I will not vote 5% among Nanado's coalition. When you come to Mahama's coalition, 92% of Mahama's voters in 2020 are still voting for him. 3% said no, they have left him and gone to Bawumia. 2% have gone to Alan Chiramatin. 1% have gone to Nana Kwambe Diaku. 1% said others. 1% undecided, and 1% I will not vote. Those who said they voted for somebody else, other candidates, this is how they are voting. But the story lies in the way people have moved from both MVP, PP, or Ronaldo's vote, and Mahama's vote. This is why the race is looking the way it's looking right now. Now, the regions, just much more telling story. In the Ahafo region, let me probably go to Ashanti where the numbers are quite interesting. And that's what I want people to focus their minds on. Currently, 39% of voters said they were MP, or they are MPP. 17% are NDC. 14% are floating voters. 1% other parties. And 28% did not tell us their party. They have refused to disclose their party. Now, among MPPs in the Ashanti region, 4% intend to vote for Mahama. 86% intend to vote for Bawumia. 7% intend to vote for Alan Chiramatin. 1% will vote for Nana Kwambe Diaku. For those who said they were NDC in Ashanti region, 98% are voting for Mahama. 1% for Bawumia. 1% for Nana Kwambe Diaku. For those who said they are floating voters in Ashanti region, Mahama 20%, Bawumia 38%, Alan 22%, Kwambe Diaku 4%. For those who said they will not disclose their party to us, 21% are voting for Mahama. That's worrying. 28% for Bawumia and 14% for Alan Chiramatin. Now, let's go to Eastern region.
So, sorry, hold on. Let's come back to Ashanti.
Let's back to Ashanti.
And it's important because we've heard the Chief of Staff say all they need to get in Ashanti region is 80%.
Look at the story here, Moro. In the current poll, 54% voting for Bawumia, 31% Mahama, 21% Alan Chiramatin, and 2% for Kwambe Diaku. In the 2020 election, those we spoke to, 76% said they voted for Nanado. 22% Mahama, 2% someone else. So compared to this, Bawumia is down hugely compared to what Nanado got from the region.
Oh, okay. So I was actually confused between this Ashanti 54%.
This is Ashanti current poll, and then Ashanti 2020 actual exit
poll. So this is 2024.
So this is 2020 election results.
Yeah.
This is what they want to do now.
Right, but so this other one, the one at the top.
Here.
No, the one at the top. Ashanti
Here we are showing the party affiliation of each party bloc.
Oh,
those who said they were MPP, how are they voting? Those who said they were NDC, how are they voting? Those who said they are floating vote, that's why you see the divisions and the unity within each voting bloc.
I get that.
But this is what?
This is the current poll.
The
what
poll.
they will do now if elections were held between 22nd March.
So Mahama is 31%.
31%.
Bawumia is 54%.
Alan 12%. 2% Kwambe Diaku. So you could see that if you add a bit of Alan, Bawumia, and Nana Kwambe Diaku, you are getting a bit high numbers compared to what it is now. Clearly, Mahama is getting support from what? From some MPP guys, some floating voters, and those who have refused to disclose their party affiliation.
What did he get in 2020? 22?
22%. So Mahama has improved from 22 to what? 31%.
9%.
Among the same people who said this is how they voted. Now, this is how they intend to vote. Now, if you go to Eastern region, the Central region. Central, party affiliation, 38% MPP, 39% NDC, 10 floating voters, 12% did not disclose.
These floating voters.
Those who don't belong to any party. Yes.
Now,
currently in the poll, Mahama 51%.
Right.
Bawumia 45%. Alan 2%. Kwambe Diaku 1%. In the 2020 elections, Nanado, the people we spoke to, they voted 54% Nanado, 46% Mahama. The table has turned in Central region. And look at the party affiliation. Here you can see the unity in MPP in Central region. 94% of MPP Bawumia, 0 for Mahama among MPP people. 3% for Alan Chiramatin. When you come to NDC in Central region, 96 Mahama, 2 for Bawumia. And among floating voters, the crucial floating voters, Mahama is doing very well. 54% of floating voters are voting for Mahama. 23 Bawumia, 2 Alan. So that's where if Mahama will win Central region, it will come from the floating voters in Central region. And then Eastern region, look at it. Party affiliation, 46% MPP, 20 NDC, 21 floating voters, 12% not disclosed. Mahama, 31. Bawumia, 49. Alan, 11. Kwame Diaku, 5% in Central Eastern region. Quite some big number. When you come to the way they voted in the last election, 76% of these people said Nanado is who they voted for. So MPP is down 76 minus 49 in Eastern region among the people who we spoke to. Mahama, 23%, now he's on 31%. He's gone up. Now look at this clear. Those who said they were MPP, 7% of them in Eastern are doing Mahama. 74% are doing Bawumia. 12% are doing Alan Martin. And 1% are doing Nana Kwame. For those who said they were NDC or they are NDC, 90% Mahama. 5% have jumped ship to Bawumia. 2% Alan Martin. Among floating voters, Mahama 18, Bawumia 20, Alan 10, Kwame 17% among floating voters in Eastern region. So these are the numbers. Now, look at Greater Accra. That's where the number is very striking. 40% said they were ND supporters, 25 MPP, 21 floating voters, 14% not disclosed. Current voting intention, Mahama 73%, Bawumia 21%, Alan 5%. Among the same group who are voting now, last time election, they said 45% of them went for Nanado, 55% for Mahama. So Mahama has gone up from 55 to 73, and MPP has dropped from 45 to 21 in Greater Accra. Look at it. This is where the problem is for MPP. Look, MPP in Greater Accra, 20% of MPP supporters in Greater Accra are doing Mahama.
That's huge.
That is huge. 64 are doing Mahmoud Bawumia. 8% are doing Alan Martin. 8 said they won't vote. When it comes to NDC in Greater Accra, 96% are doing Mahama. 2% Bawumia, 1% Alan. Among floating voters, it's really bad. 78% are doing Mahama, 6% Bawumia, 4% Alan Martin. And among those who did not even disclose their party affiliation, 45 Mahama, 6% Bawumia, and 7 Alan. Accra is really, really bad. Northern region, the story is the same. The pattern and the behavior of MPP and NDC people are the same. NPP is not solid behind their own. And in where places where they have to do well, they are losing grounds in many areas.
But Northeast is of particular interest.
Northeast.
Yeah, it's of particular interest. I mean, that's where the vice president comes from.
Let's look at the details.
And Savannah, absolutely.
Among those we spoke to, 22% said they were MPP, 32% were NDC, 38 did not disclose their party affiliation.
Okay.
And then who do you want to vote for? 58 said Mahama, 26 Bawumia, 11 Alan, 2 Nana Kwame Bediako. And how they voted, you see, forget about these numbers. How did they vote last time? It's more important to see what is happening. 53% of those who are doing these numbers said that they voted for Nanado in 2020. 43% said they did Mahama. So you can see clearly that even if the sample is not big, what is happening within the sample is more important because Mahama has moved from 43 to 58. And MPP has moved from 53 to 26. So it is the message in the data that is very important. Look among MPP in the Northeast region that we interviewed. 10% of MPP are doing Mahama. 81 are doing Bawumia. 5 are doing Alan. 5 said they were undecided. Among the NDC, the 90% NDC is doing Mahama. 3% Bawumia. 3% Alan. Among floating voters in Northeast, 33% are doing Mahama. Bawumia. 67% are doing Nana Kwame Bediako.
Yeah, he's doing well.
So the numbers are there for all to see. Focus on the difference between the 2020 and what they intend to do now. The story is telling. And also how the party themselves are voting within themselves.
Need Savannah.
Okay, Savannah is here. Yes. Another troubling situation in Savannah.
It's behind. No, go back.
Okay, going to be here. Savannah, yes.
Savannah, yes.
Mahama 73, Bawumia 26. How they voted. Last time, Nanado 44. Mahama 56. So Mahama has gone up from his numbers compared to last time. MPP has dropped. Now look at this here. Among MPP voters, 33% of them in Savannah have switched camp to Mahama. That is telling. 61 are doing Bawumia. Now look at NDC, 100% for Mahama. Among floating in the Savannah, 83 Mahama, 8% Bawumia, 8% Alan. Other parties, 100% for Mahama. But those who did not even disclose the party affiliation, Mahama 71%. Western region, another area we have looked at, because Western region could really create a problem for MPP. Among those we interviewed, 19 said they were MPP supporters, 22 NDC, floating voters 37%, 5% other parties, and 17 did not disclose. Who do you intend to vote for in the 2024 election if it was held the time we spoke to them? 63% Mahama, 25% DMB, Allen 9%, Kwame Yakun 2%. How did they vote last time is key. Last time, these same people who said 63 and 25, 57 went for Nanado, 40 went for Mahama. Now Mahama is doing what? 63, up 23% from his last numbers. When you come to MPP in Western region, 17% of MPP in Western region are doing Mahama. Switched. 64 are doing Bawumia, 6 are doing Alan, 5 not voting, 5 undecided, and 3 others. Look at NDC in Western region, 96 Mahama, 3 Bawumia, 1 Alan. Among the floating voters in Western region, 46% are voting for Mahama, 6 Bawumia, 4 Alan, 22 undecided, 13 they will not vote. So Mahama is leading 40% among floating voters in Western region. That is not good. Among those who did not disclose their party affiliation, they are really despondent. 10% Mahama, 13% Bawumia, 6 Alan, 23% will not vote, 42 undecided. Now, those who are saying that they are still thinking about who to vote for, this is how they are spread across the country. Ashanti region contributes 15% of all those who said they are undecided.
Right.
Ghana, Greater Accra, 13%. Western, 19%. Eastern, 13%. Look, these Ashanti, Western, Eastern are areas MPP normally does well. They said they are undecided. If they decide, would they go Alan? Would they go Bawumia? Would they go Mahama? Only God knows. Time will tell. Then those who said they will not vote, this is it. 23% of all people who said they will not vote in Ghana live in Ashanti region.
That's a very significant figure.
And 22% who said they will not vote are in Greater Accra. So between Accra and North Ashanti region, 45% said they will not vote. And again, close to 40% or more of MPP funds in Ghana are in Accra and Ashanti region. Accra and Ashanti region contribute about 45% of MPP support in the entire country, in these two regions. Now, this is a story that really must be watched by everyone. MPP, those who said they were undecided, 7% are MPP, 2% are NDC, 31% are floating voters, 2% other smaller parties, and 57 are those who did not disclose their party affiliation. So you can see that the apathy, undecided crowd, MPP is ahead by 5 points compared to NDC. Now, when it comes to I will not vote, 18% of all I will not vote in Ghana are MPP. 1% are NDC. 1%. So voter enthusiasm, apathy, is within MPP, not in NDC. When it comes to floating voters, it is 22% said they will not vote. And then for those who did not disclose their party affiliation, 57%. These are the disappointed people we are saying they are more likely to be MPP than NDC or floating voters. Regardless of your voting intention, we don't care who you want to vote for. Do you believe that MPP will break the 8? 55% said no. And this includes people who are even voting for MPP. He's voting for MPP or NDC, but he doesn't think they will break the 8. Yes, 27%. This includes MPP, mostly MPP, some NDC, some floating voters. No opinion, 18%. Now, let's look at break the 8 by region. Which regions believe MPP can break the 8? Ashanti region, yes. Sorry, Ahafo, yes, 33%. No, 28%. Ashanti region, 46% yes, 44% no. Very close, almost tied, because the margin of error is nearly 2%. Bono, 35 yes, 53 no. Bono is 27 yes, 51 no. Central, 35 yes, 51 no. Eastern, 47 yes, 41 no. So slightly ahead in Eastern region. Greater Accra, 17 yes, 70 no. Northeast, 23 yes, 56 no. Northern region, 27 yes, 66 no. Oti, 40 yes, 46 no. Savannah, 12 yes, 74 no. Upper East, 16 yes, 65 no. Upper West, 18 yes, 63 no. Volta region, 11 yes, 76 no. Western region, 21 yes, 60 no. And Western North, 35 yes, and 54 no. I think we're almost done. That's it.
Whoa. That's Musa Dankwa. He's the chief executive director of Global InfoAnalytics, walking us through his latest poll. And very, very interesting figures being recorded. But I have quite a number of questions for Musa Dankwa, and some of the questions are based on some of the reactions that have come since you issued this or you released this poll. First is that, why should I take this poll seriously when your sample size is just 6,128 voters who were interviewed, of which 5,928 responded to your questions on who they intend to vote for the December 2024 elections? We're close to about 15 million voters. Just 5,000 people have spoken. If I'm NDC or MPP, I'll just take this poll and say, well, you've done a good job, but I don't think this is a true reflection of what's on the ground, because the numbers are relatively or arguably small. That's number one. Number two, Ghanaians are funny. Different things can easily influence the way we think and the way we vote and so on. And so today, the person who says I'll vote for A can to wake up tomorrow and say I'll vote for B, either depending on messaging or depending on improvement in the economy. There's all these factors that sometimes easily sways people's intentions and their voting patterns. And so, look, in any case, we're in April. We still have a long way to go. So really a lot can change, right? That's the other criticism that has greeted this. And also number three, the people your respondents, do you first of all ask them whether they are MPP, NDC, floating voter? How do you get to know where they are affiliated to before you ask the questions? Or it is post? It is after they responded to the questions, then you ask them where they belong to sort of, inform how to sort of classify them and so on and so forth. So that's question number three. When you talk about likely voters model, what do you mean? I've seen likely voters model and then also all voters model, if you can differentiate that. So perhaps you can start from my last question, and then go to the... I'm sure that Nanaya and Anthony also have some questions that they would like to ask. I also have a few more, but maybe let's start with this so I don't hijack the conversation.
All right. When we say likely voters model, these are voters who would show up on election day to vote, who have decided who they want to vote for.
Right.
It means that their response is much more solid and concrete. You can buy that and go home with it.
Basically, nothing will change.
No, in polling, you can't see nothing will change.
No, I'm saying that the people have indicated to you that they will.
They will vote, yes.
Okay.
They will
committed
vote.
Until something
At
happens.
the time we spoke to them, remember? Yes. Okay. Now, when we say all voters model, we mean that everybody who said either I will not vote or undecided, his view has been counted as well. So when you use the all model, the numbers tend to be lower. But if the guy says he's not going to come on election day, when EC is counting the vote, they won't count those who didn't come. So you take away those who did not say they will not come to get the likely voter model. And those who said they were undecided, you take them out. What's going to happen is that when they finally decide, they will go with the flow. Those who are undecided, when they decide, they will go with the flow. Okay. They have never turned the election upside down, except where the gap is very close. And something happened towards the end. The leader throws away by saying some silly comment, and something comes out, revelation that's scandalous, that will turn the race on its head. For now, we are where we are in terms of the numbers.
Right.
And then you talk
the all models, all voters
model, and then likely voters model. Yes.
Right. That's the difference.
That's the difference. And now the sampling size.
Yes.
Look,
5,000. It's only 5,000.
Look, you see, that is why we call it statistics.
Okay.
It is not the kitchen things we do in our home. It is driven by mathematics.
Right.
Anybody who has done a bit of statistics and sampling knows that this is the truth. Anybody who stands out there and say the sampling size is not correct absolutely have no clue in statistics.
Okay.
How do you determine sample size? It will ask you, what is the population of the people you are going to seek their views on? We are saying that EC says by May or June, we'll have 18.5 million voters. So we think that there will be 18.5 million people who would likely, or who may be, who will qualify to vote.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. Yes.
And then we say to ourselves that we want to have a margin of error of, say, 1.6%. It means that if our polls are wrong, it should be wrong within plus or minus 1.7.
True.
If you
like
pick...
like it happened in the case of Asin North.
Yes.
Okay.
If you pick a bigger margin of error, your sample size will reduce. It tells us that the quality of the variation will be higher, will be wider. So we choose 1.66 because we want to have a very little error in our polling numbers. True. So the smaller the margin of error, the bigger the sample size.
Okay.
And then another last factor is the confidence level. What confidence level do you want to aspire for your work? Others choose 95%. We have chosen 99%. It means that our sampling will be higher. When you slot this variable in the formula, it's a mathematical formula. What number do you have to interview to be able to be within the 1.6% margin of error and 99% confidence level? It is mathematics. I cannot say 1 plus 1 is 7. It can be found out. So those who know mathematics really know that we are right. And indeed, let me put this into context. In the US, they have 120 million voters. When they are doing the sampling, I've seen a sample as low as 1,100 for 120 million voters. Why are they not scientists there?
And they're usually
mostly
spot on.
it's accurate.
Yes. If you look at Gallup poll, Zogby polls, Emerson is the only polling company in the US that does 6,000 interviews. Emerson is the only one. If you read Reuters, Ipsos, 1,500, 2,000, 3,000. If you read Rasmussen polls, 1,000, 1,200. So that argument is neither here nor there.
I see.
Then the next question they raise is what? People can change their mind. Of course, they can change their mind. Between then and then, and now and then.
Yes.
But you see, as a pollster, you must be able to measure those who are changing their mind over time. We ask them, how likely are you going to change your voting intention? This voting intention includes those who said they were undecided, I will not vote, everybody. At the moment, over 74% of voters
their mind is made up.
Said they have made their mind up. About 14% said they are likely to change their mind, And another maybe 14 or 16 said they were indifferent. This tells you that the window the parties have to really change minds is narrowing. And the people who are available to change their minds,
which is the 14%,
it is very small. So they have a lot of work to do. Now, we are tracking this data every time. So we can see whether the number is increasing or decreasing. If those who are firming up their mind is shrinking or is increasing, they are in for a bigger shock because people are already nothing will change their mind, even if things change the way they expect. So that's very, very careful. And the timing is very important. And then about party affiliation. Look, we understand the psychology of voters. See, not just about going to the field and talking to people. Where you place a question, plays a role in the kind of response that you get.
So, for example,
if I come to you and I see you immediately, which party do you support? That answer you give me would affect most of the answers you give me. But you try to figure out who sent me. Is it the government or the opposition?
That's why the public servants, when you did the
no, but even in their case.
But the public servants voted for Bawumia.
Yes.
Said they voted because they didn't know you.
Yeah, they didn't know me.
They didn't know who was sent you.
And our guys are very free in the street. So what happened is that, you see, the trick we apply is that when we go to the field, we don't start with political questions. We don't start with those controversial issues. Or do you think the country is heading in the right direction or wrong direction? It's generally broad issue. People would like to talk about you. Oh, Nkoye. What about your life, your own standard of living? Is it going well? Then what about corruption in the country? How do you rate the performance of Nanado? How do you see the police service managing the election in 2024? What about the EC? So we ask issues that have nothing to do with elections yet. We even ask free education.
Yeah, you did. Yeah.
And then once they are comfortable talking, Then you zoom down into the political questions.
I get it.
Now, the last question we ask voters is which political party do you normally vote for in an election if you have been voting? Or if you're a first-time voter, which party would you want to associate yourself with? So that is the very last question we ask them. Okay. Once they reveal it, they can't go back and change any answer they've given you.
Okay.
It's a psychology. It's a mastering the art of polling.
Okay.
If you put this question in the beginning, believe me, you'll get different responses from when it's at the end.
Right.
So when we are done, then we look at analysis. We use a very complex polling software to analyze those who said they were MPP. What were their views on this question, on that question, on that question? Those who said they were NDC, what was their view on this and that and that? And that gives us the insight into what people cannot really see. And that is why we're able to tell you that among those who voted in 2020 elections, 96% of MPP said they went for Nanado.
Yeah.
At the moment, it's only 83 doing Bawumia. Okay. And it's because of this analysis we have done that we can do all this.
Just finally, before, unfortunately, time is not our best friend, but just finally, there's a video that's been trending where you're saying that if elections were held today, the former president will be leading Mahama with about 2.5 million votes.
No, if you look at
put it in context,
if you look at what we showed right now,
yes.
Among those who voted in 2020,
okay.
If you line them again, come and cast your vote again, what they've said to us is that Nanado got 6.6 million, right? Votes nationally.
Yes.
From this 6.6, 19% said they will now vote for Mahama. Take your calculator, strike 19% of 6.6, what do you get?
That's 1.2.
That's just among those who voted.
Yes.
We have first-time voters too.
I'm on board.
And Mahama is winning them by a big margin. So when you do that mathematics, you're going to know where we are.
I mean, your quick thoughts. So we've just 8 minutes to go.
What is revealing to me is the number of floating voters.
Okay.
And the undecided ones.
Are you worried?
Yes, a bit worried. It means people are not having too much trust in the political system. But also, I think it's also a lot of work for us, the politicians. And I will urge my party people to really go into work right now to attract the floating voters and those who are undecided. Yes, because then I think the CPP should start putting their act together.
Yeah.
I mean, to attract some of these voters because, I mean, it's...
Why do you think Alan is not attracting them? And why do you think the other political parties are not attracting these floating voters?
It means that people have
lost
hope.
Yeah.
Do you guys mean these people? And for the floating voters, you cannot say whether they will vote or not. They are the wait and see people.
Okay.
So as Doc said, going forward, if somebody says something that is not palatable, somebody says something that is not interesting, then or somebody says something that is interesting amongst the contestants, it could change the dynamics. If the economy improves, if the economy dwindles, it will also change the dynamics. But my question, I was reading the document, I haven't finished reading everything yet, but it said that about 60% of the people spoken to have confidence in the Electoral Commission. Yeah. I just wanted to find out from Doc, what question did they ask them? Because we have had a lot of issues with the Electoral Commission and the recalcitrance and the way they don't even listen to the political party. So I was a bit like...
It's actually 59%.
Yeah, 59%.
In fact, we started tracking this poll in October. Mm-hmm. At that point, I think it was around 49%.
Okay.
But since they begin to engage the public and had a truce with NDC and the IPAC, that confidence has been growing.
So it has changed.
It's as a result of what they've been doing.
So the NDC going back has helped the image of the Electoral Commission.
Yes. And also drop of the CI that we're trying to propose.
The CI they were trying to propose.
Yes.
So it means that it has improved their image.
Yes.
So something very little can change the dynamics.
Yes.
Good. And the other one is the free SHS. Very good program, but not well managed. And you said that, I think 61% said that they they have some financial benefits from the free.
It's brought them some financial relief.
But they also said that the same percentage also said that it needs a review.
Yes.
So I was like, how?
No, they are being reasonable.
Okay.
They know there are challenges with the free education.
But they are getting some benefits.
Yes. They want the problems of free education to be resolved.
Okay.
It's only review that can bring that resolution.
So they acknowledge there are problems.
Yes.
But they are also saying that they are getting some benefits.
Yes.
So, for instance, if they are not paying school fees, that money is coming back to them. But are they not spending more? Maybe you didn't go further.
No, we see.
So that
the political parties would like us to do everything for them.
Yeah,
but we will not.
I was thinking that if I gain 2 CDs, I might lose 3 CDs because of the food, the accommodation I have to get for my kids. But you didn't go in.
I think the next question, I get that. If I'm spending more than I'm spending before, how can majority of us approve of something that is making me spend more?
No.
It's not a question for you, but she's just wondering.
Majority said that it has brought relief to them.
Yeah, but so that's what she's questioning.
67%.
Okay.
But 31 said it hasn't. So what about those? So it wasn't unanimous.
No, because you see, the impression we're getting, if you listen to the political parties, it hasn't brought relief to majority.
No, you see, nobody has put a figure out there.
Okay.
By what percentage?
I get it.
Nobody gives anything.
I get it.
But here we have the numbers now. We can say 67 said, look, they are okay.
So this is across board.
Across board, yes. Everybody.
So it is. So I think that I get a point. He's also saying that, for all you know, it has brought more relief to some other, not for all you know.
For 31%, they said no.
Based on this poll, majority are saying that it's brought relief to them.
Yes.
So anybody who says that majority of Ghanaians don't like the free SHS because it's rather brought untold hardship, but maybe wrong based on this.
But
please go ahead.
What is also interesting is that, the NPP is always talking about free SHS as their flagship and all that. But it doesn't, I don't know, I might be wrong, I'm not a pollster. After it comes to maths, I don't like it. But I am saying, that it looks like the free SHS is not helping them.
Okay, what I can say is that
it's not having a positive impact.
No,
on the numbers.
I think you see, a policy cannot always influence every election.
But they think
it was potent in 2016. Slightly potent in 2020. Now it's waning.
That is what I was saying. Now it's waning. So all the noise about free SHS, it's waning.
It's waned significantly.
It is waning or it has waned?
It has waned because the gap, if you look at those who said it has brought benefit to them and how they intend to vote. The gap between Mahama
that's
and...
what I wanted to know.
You have 58% of those who said...
It has brought some relief to
They are voting for Bawumia.
But they are voting for
Bawumia.
Bawumia. I'm so sorry to do this.
But around 44% of them are voting for Mahama. So the gap is not that huge.
I'll beg you, and I'll make it up to you the next time you come around. We're just a minute to go. Can you just summarize this for us?
Definitely.
Okay.
You see, if you observed the generality of the poll, you realize that the key things that people said are important to them. Jobs, the economy, roads, all those top things are the very things that Vice President Bawumia was the loudest on. If you talk about jobs, you saw him on platforms sharing about how there will be jobs and jobs and jobs and making claims that cannot be backed by any statistics, that they provided 2.1 million jobs. When the Ghana Statistical Service is telling us, as of this point, that unemployment rate has increased from 8.4% to 14% currently. And so if you look at the trends, the correlation between the key things and the voting patterns, you need nobody to even tell you that the vice president cannot make it. If you take the economy, he has shifted completely from speaking on the economic issues. The economy is the number 2 issue for the voters. He has shifted completely from talking about the economic issues and made himself an overnight IT expert. You don't expect the Ghanaian people to remain behind this. Those are the key things. Look at roads, for example. The vice president told Ghanaians that all you need to do is to toll the various sections of the road and build the road in Ghana, that they will not borrow money to do that. But he was the one who went to China to go and contract loans on behalf of his government to build roads, increasing our debt to GDP ratio up to over 100%. So all these issues which are critical to voters, the vice president has lost the record on it. And so he cannot appeal to any voter at this point. And that is why the polls are like
so
this. I'm very confident that President John Dramani Mahama would come out victorious.
He's not even doing well in the Muslim community.
Well, that's another. We'll do a part 2 of this.
Very shocking.
NDC should not depend on the polls. NDC are determined to rig. We all know what happened in Nigeria last year. Kweku from La Paz sends that message. Sika from Accra Newtown says, good morning. All I have to say is, those of us who say we Muslims, Christians, today before us, we have a government which is anti-God and stands for blah 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 blah. That's coming from Sika Sika. Your message is a bit raw. Anyway, so I've not been able to read it. My name is Audumur. Thanks for joining us. Musa Dankwa joined us from Global InfoAnalytics. Is the leader there. He's the boss there, executive director. Thank you very much, Musa. And Anaya Achempem Jantua is the executive secretary of COSECA, former general secretary of the CPP. She says she misses CPP. She misses the people around there that she works, not necessarily the position. And also Anthony Julius says the NDC rep, communications rep. Thank you very much for your time. My name is Aldumoro once again. Have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.